So you actually think the Egyptians or the Egyptian-like people were here? Because I've ran across some people that found some Egyptian artifacts in Colorado and Idaho. The Egyptian belt you're talking about, there was one found in the mountains east of Provo. In Nevada, there was some found. And then, the stories of the Egyptians in the Grand Canyon. And then I have a friend that found some Egyptian hieroglyphs, along at Lake Powell, which would have been along the Colorado River. So it's interesting you'd say that. So you think there was...
Interesting thing that's kind of kept quiet is mummifying bodies was Egyptian. And they found a few scattered around the world, basically. The second largest place they found mummified bodies is in the old Utah Territory.
Really?
And they found them from the highest caves to clear down in New Mexico and stuff.
They were mummified?
And very few on this continent, yeah.
Really?
Mummified out of the old original Utah Territory.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Utah was an Egyptian. There's history on him.
Huh.
That was a man, but his name, and you've probably seen it, his name was spelled P-T-A-H. But the P was pronounced as a U. Utah.
Huh.
So I don't know what Brigham and them knew, but he knew this was the Utah Territory.
Huh.
And the Utah Territory is part of Wyoming, Nevada, clear down in New Mexico,
down in California,
Arizona,
yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was originally called Utah's Territory. See, that day was up Kerncrick, and Dad got in a talkative mood. Boy, we should have been older, because I was only 12 then. He said the Red Ledges was the biggest and longest worked mine, biggest, richest, and longest worked mine in this area. That was worked originally by the Egyptians.
Really?
He said the front of the Red Ledges, where you see all the ledges now, was just like the back of the Red Ledges till it caved in. So that was massive. He said it just sloped down in the front the same as it sloped in the back till it all caved in. And an earthquake caused it. And he said it didn't cave in because it was shabby mining. It was mined very well. But the earthquake stopped it. He said there was lots and lots of people killed in there. So they worked that mine year round. And said they'd done their smelting inside the mine. An old Indian down in the basin that he used to talk to a lot. He stopped in the lodge a lot. Henry was his name. He confirmed that the Egyptians were here.
Really?
Now, according to Ben, the one over the Egyptians here spent almost all of his life here. And he said he was the great uncle to the child king, Tutmosis, Sheila, or whatever his name is. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think he said the Egyptian here, name was Tutmosis or something like that, but the beginning of it was the same.
So have you heard, do you think then there's a lot of Egyptian artifacts around here that have been hidden up or not talked about, or?
Well, I think so. There's a lot of artifacts that's hid by people. They don't want
found them and they don't tell people about it. Yep, You're right.
Yeah, there's a guy out here in the basin that's got quite a few that's just as old as that plate is. That plate's old.
Huh.
That plate, you see, and what makes me wonder the most is what was that plate doing here?
Yeah.
That is of Mu.
So when you're talking a plate, we're talking it's kind of a bowl shaped a little bit. I mean, it's a plate, but the edges come up and it's copper, made out of copper or brass or something like that. And it has some intricate designs and carvings and stuff in it.
Yeah, it's got kind of an Aztec style carving around the edge.
Yeah.
But then it's got that hieroglyph or whatever you want to call it in the center
Yeah.
that tells the story.
Huh.
But there's another bowl found of that. Don't know if you've seen it or not.
No, I
It's
didn't
kind
see
of
the other. I
copper
only know
and
the
gold
one.
mixed.
Oh, really? Yeah, I only knew the
The
one.
sacred flower of
India?
Mu
Oh,
was
Mu.
the water lily.
Ah,
What the hell was it called? But it's on the bowl.
really?
It's 8-petaled flower.
Was it found near the same area, you think, or just
same place this plate was.
really?
Then there was a like a box with a setting in it, but the box was made of wood with the glass face on it. You could lift it up, and the glass was smoky, natural gas, like back in Ohio, till they learned how to make glass. And the glass on it was smoky glass, natural glass. There's none of that around here in Oa, but they used to mine it in Ohio, and you know, your pilgrims or whoever, people then looked out their foggy window. But then the sides of that lid were etched in, filled with gold.
Oh, really?
And gold preserves wood.
I didn't know that.
I think that's part of why that design was there, but it was a good, intricate design too, but it had been filled with liquid gold and hardened. Interesting. And the deal, the whole thing inside that little box, just thin, and it was a little wider on top and narrowed down. It's pretty. It was the lotus. The lotus flower was the only thing in there, and it was the flower. So it's interesting. That was also of Mu, found in the same cache. There's I think the White Ledge area up here creek is fairly important. Seeing it's kind of interesting, the Indians got the mineral rights back to different little spots in the area out through here later. And the Indians owned the mineral rights to Red Ledges now. And they got two sections from just south of the Red Ledges over into.
They bought it from the half-breeds, or they bought it from...
Well, they got it signed back over to them from the government.
Oh, okay.
Then they got a section up on Tabby Mountain. It's kind of interesting, and you know, that shows on the maps, if you get the right maps, but Dad knew a lot about this country, and it's him that said the Red Ledges were the longest worked, richest mine in the whole area. And the Egyptians mined it first.
Wow. That's interesting for me to hear that. Really interesting.
And he didn't BS. He didn't, you know, in fact, he knew a lot. His family lived out here before the reservation was ever opened.
Oh, really?
They was out here in 1899. From the church. They was out here watching things. He said when the ledges fell, it killed lots of people and mules, and so they had tracks. He said the Red Ledges, the Egyptians, just the way he put it, he said the Egyptians were the first to mine it, and they went in on when the mountains raised, which surprised me then, because they still tried to teach us a lot that the mountains didn't raise, everything washed away and left them here, which is impossible. We wouldn't have any oceans.
Yeah.
You know how many zillions of tons it would be from Ogden to Provo?
Yeah.
But he said when the mountains raised, there was a big river of red, heavy clay that flowed out, that was hot from down underneath, flowed out the side, and it was clear full of nuggets. And he said the Egyptians followed that river in.
So they
it was clear full of nuggets.
So the nuggets were in the red clay.
Yeah, that washed out from deep. He said it was a flowing river of hot red clay.
Huh.
And he said that it was clear full of nuggets from bigger than your fist to smaller than your little fingernail.
Huh.
And the Egyptians followed that in. When they got in there, above them and where that river flowed out was all conglomerate rocks, which shows. And the pressure pushed gold into the rocks also. Very rich in a lot of gold. Well, any vein of gold or anything in the rocks was hot at one time and was pushed there.
Right.
Pressure, and then it cooled and got solid. But he said that's what they went in on. Now, Henry verified that the Egyptians were here.
Ah.
First to India.
Huh.
And I think he said it's a great uncle of the child King Tut was in charge of it.
Huh.
And he spent basically his whole life here.
That's interesting because that Egyptian egg that was found in Pocatello, Idaho, had King Tut's high priest signature on one side and his cartouche of his name on the other. And that was found in 1918, and they never broke into King Tut's tomb till 1922. Didn't even know what that cartouche and all that would look like.
Up that big road trail and started settling in Oregon and Idaho. That's right on the old Egyptian trail.
Really?
Now, according to Henry, there was 3 main trails that the Egyptians came in on. They sailed up the Mississippi River to the area of St. Louis now and came across. They had 2 on the west coast, Monterey, California, and Portland, Oregon, the Egyptians. And the Monterey, California, you could go down through this country, but he said they preferred going across northern Utah and then down the San Fernando Valley because they had feed and water and everything and didn't have to cross the desert. And he said that more Spanish, when they got the place learned and knew, went and came from the west coast than they did down here. No deserts.
So just kind of Henry learned it from family oral history, oral traditions, how did he know about the Egyptians?
Probably a lot from the oral traditions. And see, the big battle, which is interesting, it does have to do with the gold. From Bend Mountain that day we was talking. We talked 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
But I said, okay, what about the big battle? Because when I mentioned a mission there, he'd starting to get a little irate. He'd let me know that was not a mission. That was Kingsman House. Only one mission. I said, all right, tell me about the big battle then that happened between the Indians and the Spaniards that you guys won. Well, he was happy to talk about that. I said, how did you get that orchestrated to take over the Spanish? And he said at that time there was about probably, the way he talked, well, maybe this and probably this and, I said, how many Spaniards were in here at that time? And he said, maybe about 3,200.
Wow.
And I said, how many Indians were here at that time? And he said, when the battle started, maybe 1,800 Indians.
Wow.
I said, well, how did you manage that? And he said, well, all the time before, Spain man, he called him, Spain man could kill Indians, but we couldn't kill any of them. If the Indian killed any Spain man, they tried to kill all of us.
Yeah.
He said, so they got together when they getting too many in here and killing too many Indians, and I'm sure they killed a few just for the fun of it.
Probably.
They sent a runner out. The Shoshone tribe sent a runner out. And they made up a bunch of little ropes, and they had knots tied in them all. And they sent 3 runners. One went to the northwest, one went to the north, one went to the northeast. And they went to these different tribes with the ropes, and they'd leave a rope at the tribe, and every day they'd untie one of the knots, the runner would. And when they left, they told them what they wanted to do. Then they left the rope there. Well, then, boy, they must have had quite a few knots in them. And I don't know what they used for a rope either, whether it was fiber or
probably made out of fiber somehow.
And then the Indians started moving in slow, not noticed, in this whole area. And Dad confirmed that.
Oh, yeah?
Too, mentioned something about it before bed. They moved into this area slow, unnoticed. When they undone the last knot, they all attacked the next morning. And them foxholes over there that are mentioned by Treasure Hill is where the Spanish dug in to fight the Indians. And then there's some more of them up in Pigeon Water, where the big canyon goes up, partway down Pigeon Water. There's some more on that hill there. That's where the Indians dug in. And caught, because when the battle started, everybody headed for the Treasure Hill and Rock Creek. And the Indians were in the foxholes there that they'd learned of it. But I think the Spanish had them holes already dug for protections of whatever they was doing in there.
Yeah.
Ben said they'd killed all the Spanish off down by the rivers and had Indians down there to where, he said, the king's men lived in good house, the workers lived in holes in the bank or anywhere they could live. But he said they kept them from the water. And then he said they started he said people go crazy without water.
Yeah, right. Without water you'll die, yeah.
He said white men think Indians sleep at night, but Indian don't sleep at night. Necessarily. And he taught, like where we was there, but Treasure Hill, that you got a flat across the creek there going east, and then the big hill coming down. And that same sandstone ledge goes around the bottom and then up that canyon that was getting down under. And he talked about the Indians that killed up all there and stuff and took all the belongings. And I guess there's quite a few Spanish lived in there, so maybe that's kind of processing gold or something. But they lined them out under that ledge, and he said mostly squaws carried dirt down and dumped over the ledge and rock and covered them up. He said if you go over there now, he said now a few bones are starting to show.
Oh, really?
But I never did go over
there.
And then up where you drop down past the runaway truck lane, covered down the Pigeon Water there, and you see where a cat had been over in there. He said they also covered up a bunch of Spaniards there that they killed coming down the canyon trying to get down to protection of the big houses and guns. And he said they buried them there, but then some runoff started exposing the bones, so the Indians took a cat in and they done that, covering them back up, according to Ben.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but he said that fight went on. He said a lot more Spain man could get away. But they're too greedy. They want to take the gold with them, huh? He said they tried to sneak out at night, but said they had everything blocked. And the Indian killed them.
Huh.
And he said that battle went on for maybe a little more than a month. He said they
really
tried to sneak out at night, and he said not many made it. More would have made it if they hadn't tried to take their heavy gold with them.
Really?
And he said Twana Flat and stuff, they had that all. And I says, is that why the machines will pick up little spots all through Twana Flat And down below Sadie's down here, and he said, yeah, Indians just killed them and then buried the gold there. Little bits, a little bit more.
Huh.
So it's still buried there. He said, a lot down below Sadie's flat because everything came together there. He said, easy to sabotage the Spain man there. So, it's interesting, but according to Dad, they had that earthquake. He said that the ledges didn't cave in because it was shabby mining. He said they were very good miners and mined it very well. He said that the earthquake just brought it down. Killed many people in there, and mules, and lots of people. He said there wasn't Indians in the mines then. It was all they didn't have captives or slaves or anything. He said it was all Egyptians. And they used mainly the Portland and Monterey.
So what time do you think we're talking about that the Egyptians was in here? We're talking about BC? We talking,
I would think BC.
BC?
I would think BC.
Or are we talking...
now, according to Henry, he said that when, I think he called him Tutmosa, got old and wanted to be buried in Egypt, he went back there.
Ah.
Then when he got back there, he didn't like it there. He liked it here better. So he requested to be buried here. Well, he had to be part of that ruling class to even get his wish.
Yeah.
And he died in Egypt. They brought him back to Portland, Oregon, and brought him clear down here, and they buried him down below Vernal.
Really?
His main area was where a lot of the hieroglyphs was, up above Vernal, according to Henry, by the dry canyon,
so
dry fork area, whatever.
So you think them hieroglyphs or them there on McConkey's ranch and all that is part in
I think
Egyptian? I mean, it looks Egyptian or Aztec or something, and it doesn't look like regular Indian.
When I asked Henry about that too, and I haven't seen much of them, I was only over there once. And he said most of them ain't Indian. And that's all he said. But he requested to be buried back here. Henry said it took him 7.5 years to bury. So they brought him back and they buried him down below Vernal, where he wanted to be buried, and they kept hitting so hard a rock that they couldn't dig through it. And with the royalty, had to be precise. All the tomb had to be so deep, so wide, everything. The third attempt, they hit the same rock deeper, so they carved up the way that it had to be, and then they buried him and mounded it up above him to make the right size.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I says, where's that? And he said, I ain't telling you. I did not tell you that. He said, if you know what you're looking for, you can see it from the highway. Going toward the power plant. I said, what area? How many miles? Oh, can't tell you that.
Interesting.
But he said it's just a round hill out there. He says, but he's buried under it. So, it's quite interesting.
Really interesting.
The old Utah territory, and I think Utah was the guy over here, and it had to have been way back then when they had long lives, and he probably wasn't Egyptian. He was probably Anunnaki. But because they didn't die, they were here. And they came here to get the gold.
So speaking of Anunnaki, has there been, because somebody hit me up recently that there was some giants found out here and shipped to Berkeley. And then now Berkeley denies they ever had them, but I don't know if that story is even really true or not. Do you know anything about that? Has there been some giants found out here in this
Well,
area?
I've heard the same story. And the Anunnaki were the giants, and they weren't cast under the earth or nothing. They came here. They came here from the planet Nibiru to get the gold. And the Sumerian records show that now.
Really?
They were here basically over 482,000 years.
Huh?
The same people. The same people. Interesting.
Yeah.
Their planet Nibiru was losing its atmosphere, saying you got gold everywhere on this planet and any other that's inhabited, and your microscopic gold keeps your sun from burning. It's in the atmosphere.
Huh.
So they was losing their atmosphere and had to have the gold.
So what do you know about Skinwalker Ranch? And if you do it up, first of all, say I had somebody tell me that the Anunnaki was here near that area, Skinwalker Ranch area, had the natives, the Indians, digging up gold for them, they needed it for something. Do you know anything about?
If they needed it for something, it very well could have been the Anunnaki.
Huh.
But see, the Anunnaki had two main places the records show that they got their gold. South Africa and the high Uintas.
That shows the high Uintas?
Yeah, it mentions
Really?
the high mountains.
I never heard that before.
Utah's territory.
Ah. Huh.
So he had to be the big boy over here for years. Now they have records on Utah, and it shows when he came here, and it goes for 38,000 years.
Where do you find that information
don't
at?
show any end where he's gone.
Ah. Where do you find that information? Where'd you find that out?
I think that's in some of church words, right?
Oh, okay.
Not church word, Sessions.
Oh, okay.
Sessions. I don't know if you read him or not.
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
He's a good one. He talks more about them people.
Ah.
See, and then I'm not sure right where like church words works. He says everything originated from the continent Mu, and they spread out and colonized.
Yeah,
so there's more than, and there were 7 races of. Well, you see, and according to their texts of Mu, this continent here, and they called all the continents islands, and they're just big islands.
That's true. That's true.
The turtle island here, and you still got some of them turtles here. They're little turtles, St. George and areas. That the highest points of this island was 150 feet above sea level. Now, if that's correct, when the mountains rose, which they didn't get washed away. Impossible. We're close to 7,000 feet right here. Now you got to imagine the voids underneath when that raised, and the gas belts caused the mountains to raise.
Yeah.
Now they've kind of decided that our mountains are only between at least 16,000 years old and not over 24. I mean, according to ancient history, that's very recent that all the mountains came up. So it's interesting. That's probably what killed the dinosaurs, not millions of years ago. That's why they found that mammoth down up above Springville on the mountain up there. They dug his bones up when they was digging that water line up there. He was down here and he raised with the mountains.
Speaking of dinosaurs, there's stories that in the 50s, 60s, that there was some kind of a water creature living in Moon Lake, and also in something up in one of the lakes up higher up. Do you know anything about that, or what do you think about that?
Well, I know one guy from Duchesne that used to go up there fishing a lot. They went up one Friday and was hurrying getting camp set up, and he was going to hurry out and catch. Well, he's boys was finishing setting the tent up, he'd run out to get a little fishing in, and he said there was something that he didn't like the looks of out in that lake. And that's the last time he ever went. And he said it was alive because it was moving.
Wow.
And it was big. Now, it's interesting that Moon Lake and Bear Lake maintain the same level. So there's got to be a waterway under there. You know, and where do them fish go, whatever the name of them is, that they catch every spring, as many as they can, they're never seen in the summer. They're never caught. They go back somewhere, they come up to spawn, and then they disappear again. They go back in some of that underwater reservoirs. There's got to be oxygen back there. So it's interesting. The same with Fish Lake and the natural lake over in Colorado. They maintain the same level. So it's interesting.
A lot of interesting things out there, man.
Yeah.
Now, if you just try to figure out, let me know, so I know, man. That's what I just want to know.
As far as the mummies go in this area, some of the mummies they found were giant people. You know, and then there's the place down there. He's probably got a picture of the big guy in his casket.
Burr's Cave?
9 foot 8 inches tall in his shrunken state now.
Yeah.
That's a giant.
Yep.
And so was the woman. You know, were they Anunnaki or now I think he was probably blonde-headed and she was red-headed.
The other way around. She was blonde, he was red.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Who are they?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the Anunnaki were not a warring people. They came here mainly for the gold, and there's about 862 came. But they were the giants. But you see, the pictures you see of them in Egypt and stuff shows that headdress they got going back.
Yeah.
Well, all their headdresses went back because their skull went back. And you've probably seen pictures lately of some of the skeleton stuff they found in
Mexico.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and then up here, and they say that the
up here we got some up here that
tied their kids' heads to make it grow like that, and the same down there. They were born like that.
Yeah.
They were born like that.
Have they found them up here? Them slanted skulls up here?
Yeah, and the big people.
Really?
They keep that awful quiet. I don't know. What's the big deal?
Where would you go to find out more information about that? Do you know who you'd contact?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But they found more mummified bodies in the old original Utah territory.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
They haven't hardly found anywhere else on this continent. But in excess of about 8 from the high caves in the high mountains to down in the deserts. Some in graves, some just in the cave. But they're mummified, and a lot of them mummified, but not all exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I think they found over 1,200.
Wow.
Like that.
You
know, and it's just like the man and woman down here in Utah. It would be hard for us now. We couldn't, you know, those people are supposed to just have a chisel and a hammer or something.
Yeah.
Them caskets are perfect.
Yeah.
The buildings in Egypt are perfect.
Yep.
The carvings are perfect.
Yep.
You know, and I looked at something a while back. That one Egyptian over there, Pharaoh. He had his image and stuff put here where he died, but then there's another pyramid that's in there too with his image and writing and stuff, and they're perfect with each other.
Yeah.
That's humanly impossible.
Yeah.
In granite. Especially when you go behind an ear and it's perfect.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it. You could not do a lot of that with a chisel.
Yeah.
And it'd be hard to do it that way with a grinder.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
History's pretty interesting.
It is really interesting. And now if we can just get the true history.
Yeah, the true his story.
Yep.
According to Dad, the Red Ledges was the richest, longest working mine here, and the Egyptians worked it first.
And he heard that from the Indians, or?
I imagine from the Indians, because they were pretty good friends. There was one old Indian that used to come up to the house, and I was born and raised down here to this big log house.
Huh?
Born there, but raised there.
Uh-huh.
And once in a while, a couple times a year, there's an old Indian come up, and the younger ones would drop him off, and then Dad would stay outside and talk.
Huh.
And I sneaked in a couple of times and heard some of the things they're selling and saying, and
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know who he was, but he was old.
Wow.
And the others, the young ones, just leave him and come back and pick him up 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours later.
Hmm.
They always done their talking usually on a Sunday, and done their talking outside.
Huh.
But I wish I would have been old enough to press Dad a little more.
Yeah.
Dad, that day at Kern Creek, see, coming back out of Kern Creek, he said the Big King's men on this project here, some of them lived right here, and the dam wasn't there then. And it was rocky down under where the dam is now. And he said the Forest Service come and burned all their cabins down in around 1938.
Huh.
Except one down by the creek, and he said it's still standing there because the stockmen were using it for a salt cabin, wouldn't let them burn it down. He said, but there was 12 King's men's houses here where the bosses lived in because they worked this year round. And he showed me the rock foundations going back on some close to the road.
Really?
So it's kind of interesting. And the big boy, when he was here, had his place down here in the mouth of Water Holler.
Hmm.
Basically where that smaller house is there now, according to him.
Yeah.
Dad said he said there's been a lot said about the Josephine mine.
Yeah.
He said there were 8 Josephines.
Oh, really?
He said one rich Mexican, he didn't refer to them as King's men so much, but owned all of them.
Hmm.
And they were all named Josephine, but each one had a name and Josephine, a different first name. And he said he says, I know where 7 of the 8 are.
Really?
He said there's 3 in this area and 4 down in the Henry Mountains and 1 in Colorado.
Mm.
He said the same guy owned them all.
Huh.
All rich mines. And he says, I know where the ones are here and the ones in the Henry Mountains are because I've been to them.
Really?
But I don't know where the one in Colorado is because I haven't been there.
Yeah.
So he had to do this in the late teens or 20s.
That's when evidences are still around, yeah.
If he found them in the Henry Mountains in southern Utah, he had to have a map.
Hmm.
And if he went and found them for the church or whoever, he had to do it on a horse.
Yeah.
And that's probably why he didn't know where the one in Colorado was, because he hadn't been there. He had to get back here before winter.
Yeah.
So he was gone all summer.
So you think he tracked it down for the church or something?
Well,
or
I
just
think he had a map and they verified it out.
he just wanted to know where they, just curious, wanted to know where they was at, or he didn't?
No, I think he went down according to the church's orders.
Ah.
Because when they lived out, they came out here in 1899.
Huh.
The Red Ledges caved in 1887, and there's a tree up there that says 1887, year of the quake, the ledges fell.
Oh, really? I know there was a tree out there that had a map on it, right there by the Red Ledges. Or I heard about it anyway. I've never seen it, I just heard about it.
Dad said that the Mexicans didn't come back and even try to get in that for 8 or 9 years.
Hmm.
And everything, and it's still moving up there.
Really?
Where they was going to put the original dam was, have you seen where it goes into the mountain? The tunnel goes into the mountain going over towards Strawberry. When you top out there, it's called a jump off the hill, and you can see the dam right across to them pines. You can see where it goes through the mountain, the tunnel. They was going to put the originally going to put the dam right there in them deep narrows and run it right out of the reservoir into the pipe. Well, the Bureau went up there and surveyed it all, everywhere around there. And they went back, I think, 8 years after that, according to got work for the Bureau telling me, and rechecked all of their surveys. And he said every survey, and it's all GPS, every survey mark had moved.
Had moved, huh?
And he said the least one that moved was 1/8 of an inch, and the one that moved the most was 12 feet.
Wow.
So they put the dam up above all that movement. And he said it's still moving now.
Really?
And it is. We used to hunt the red ledges a lot, and it'd be a little bit different from one year to the next. You had to watch where you was walking.
Huh.
But might be a little crack there, or rock sticking up, or whatever. But he said that it was about 9 years for the Mexicans dared go back in it some, and then they did. And that's what they were doing out here. They were under the orders of the church to watch them.
Cool.
And so he said up there, he said they stayed up there year round. Can you imagine staying up there in the winter?
No.
You can't have a horse there.
Yeah.
What they had to haul hay up there in the summer. They just took their horses out in the winter, but they had to stay there. Dad said they worked the red ledges year round.
Really?
When they went back, they worked it year round, and so they was up there all winter.
Wow.
He was just a kid then, but
so he physically seen him there working it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was bought that. They went back in 1899. Dad said the Mexicans worked it until in the late 20s.
Really?
And then there's getting to be too many people.
Hmm.
But according to him, I might get in trouble, he said their whole job up there, it was his dad that was out, Warren Meekum, Robert Young, the dad of all the Youngs over here that settled on the bench, and there's a guy named Guggen that they all came down about 4 years later and settled in Fruitland. They got the church to let them move down. Their wives, they had to take their wives out in the deep snow the first year up there. They wouldn't stay. Said, we're going to try it on our own, or you're going to take us. And they would never go back, only in the summer. And Dad said the Indians taunted them a little up there, but they never did attack him.
Uh-huh.
And it was him, and I verified that too with records in Forest Service records in Denver, and where all the old records are kept now, headquarters, whatever. There was 4 camps, summer camps in the Red Ledge Hollow there, small ones. And then the government showed the Indian camps the same as they show campgrounds now. If it was one teepee, it was just a small one. 2 teepees were a little bigger, like one little building now shows a small campground. But there was 4 little campgrounds in the Red Ledge Hollow, 2 under the White Ledges, and then Tabby's over in the head of Red Creek that was the big camp. he said that the Indians taunted them just a little bit, but they never did attack them. They preferred the Spanish because the Spanish raced horses and bet with them.
What was your dad doing up there, do you think? Was he just...
Well, then, Dad was born in 1899. So he was just a baby when they first went up there. But he was up there later when he was just a kid during the summer, but not in the winter.
Not in the winter.
Just during the summer. I wish I knew what he knew about that.
Yeah, I bet you do.
But I think they were just not supposed to talk. But if I'd have been a little older, maybe I'd have got him in the mood like he was that day, and he talked a little that day.
Yeah.
But that's how.
So you think he was doing something with the church with it or something, or he just something on his own, or he just friends and knew stuff because of the Indians? He's friends with the Indians?
The same guys that spent about 4 years up there finally talked the church into moving down in the flats where they could at least grow a garden.
So the church wanted them to establish a town or something up there?
No, they just had them there watching the Spaniards.
Oh, they was watching the Spaniards.
The Mexicans.
Okay, got you.
Of course, maybe they were the Spaniards, because, people then just called them all Mexicans.
Yeah.
Spaniards is Caucasian. Mexicans, a cross between an Indian and a Caucasian.
Yeah.
Most of the Mexicans in Mexico are Indians. They're not. They're full-bloods.
Yeah.
But then the church, after they'd been up there 4 years, the church let them move down here in the flats. They just called it.
And that's how you became and your family settled this area.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where they convinced the church we can at least grow a garden down there. We can have our wives with us in the winter down there, and we can still watch them.
Yeah.
They worked that all winter long, too. Well, their whole job was watch the Spanish, and then when the different mines started coming together to make up a big train to leave, they were to notify the church. I shouldn't be saying that, but that was their job. For whatever. For whatever reason.
Interesting.
And they let them move down here. From this end, one of the main cart trails going up out of there, when some of them came this way, was right through this area.
Oh, really?
A lot of the roads made in these areas here was made on the old cart trails.
Huh. That makes sense, yeah.
And then later on, when they got equipment, they took the big bends out. And went around the side hill with the dugway instead of going way around.
Yeah.
But most of the original roads in this country and many others was on the old ancient trails.
That makes sense, yeah.
See, now it's interesting too. Lewis and Clark went to the Pacific Ocean, and then they stayed up there in 1808, I think, the winter, and then come back, and they split up because they heard of the Southern Passage. And one came this way and went back, the one that was recording all of the different vegetation and stuff. And the other one took the old trail back, the one they come out on, except they stayed to the main trails instead of trying to cut through like they always wanted to do. And the one came back this way on the old.
Oh, really?
Back to St. Louis. They learned about it up with the Indians up in Oregon. And at that time there, the history shows you that the Indians had old musket rifles and stuff that they didn't have no powder or nothing to put in and shoot them anymore, that the traders had gave to them years and years before that.
Yeah.
Hell, Columbus came here for a purpose.
Yeah.
They have been sailing the oceans for thousands of years.
Yeah. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
They wasn't looking for a trading route to China or India. They already had it over the land and by sea. He came here to, in my opinion, with absolutely nothing to back it. He came here to verify and reestablish the route here, because they had to go with the trade winds, they called them. They established Portugal, I think, and blew west. In the spring and in fall, they established the Georgia area and Florida and blew back east. They had, with their sail ships, they had to catch them trade winds or they didn't go.
That's true, yeah. That's true.
And I wondered, why did they insist on heading out for Spain in the fall during the hurricane season? They had to and catch them trade winds, or they stayed here another year.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, you're right.
And they just, I think their biggest problem was it was a little greedy and didn't ballast their ships right.
Yeah.
One cargo place might be half full and the other in full. When you get in little rough seas, that makes a huge difference on where you're going to break.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
I think that was their biggest problem. But I also think that they came here with the information and Egyptian records, possibly.
Had records that there was things here.
And the Egyptians triangulated everything. And I think but look at the enormous amount of gold the Spaniards found in South America and stuff now.
Yeah.
And the perfect artwork that we'd have a hard time duplicating.
Oh.
There wasn't ignorant people that was here. That's much more advanced than we are.
Yep.
Huge, 80-ton stone blocks that fit together.
Yeah.
With keyways. It's perfect.
Yeah. How'd they do that? Yeah.
They're a lot more intelligent. They had to know how to eliminate gravity.
Yep.
That's all, and that can be done with frequency. So, but for some reason they left. And then the people left here that wasn't educated, in my opinion, wasn't educated as good, went to war and killed each other and destroyed buildings. But I think when the mountains race destroyed a lot of it, like down in Peru and stuff.
Yeah.
I think when the mountains raised. So it's pretty established fact now with the people that the latest these mountains were raised as 24,000 years.
Really?
The earliest, or toward us, the latest, be about 16,000. Geez, 1,000 years is a long time.
That's a long time, yeah.
You don't think 1,000 years is much when you're talking about tens of thousands of years ago, but
to me and you, man, 1,000 years is a long time. Yep.
Just everything can change 1,000 years. Vegetation, everything.
Oh yeah. Climate, everything, yeah.
But see, it makes me wonder when this was low, it had to been warm climate.
Well, it had to, because
there was
they found
growing here.
They found, skeletons of turtles and alligators and so
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
My opinion of the one out in Vernal, in that big deposit there, is when the mountains raised, them dinosaurs was killed and washed down here, and they caught in this certain area.
And
then the mud solidified into rock.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, and there they are. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, I've kept you up for a long time, but man, I really appreciate it, Ron. I really appreciate you talking to me. So, I'm trying to preserve history that people know, because, a lot of people are passing away, and the information they have is losing. It's gone, and you had that with your dad. So that's my whole goal, is just trying preserve history.
Yeah, I was only 16 years old when he died.
Ah,
So, boy,
yeah.
if I'd have made it to 20, I'd have been smart enough to ask him more questions. Because
Yeah.
he would have told me the truth,
Yep.
or he'd have just said, I'm not telling you.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's just that simple.